Hello and welcome. I'm Steve, and I'm here once again with Frank Du, Focal Point Consultant. Hi, Frank.
Hey Steve, how are you doing today?
I'm very well, thank you.
Good.
We're continuing our discussion about the challenges faced by entrepreneurs when they are also caregivers. And we have thus far discussed the challenges involved in taking care of spouses, challenges faced in taking care of elder relatives. And today we're going to be discussing the challenges faced by entrepreneurs when they are caregivers for children. As you know, Frank, as a business coach and consultant, does have a unique expertise in coaching and directing entrepreneurs on dealing with these types of challenges. So we are very appreciative and honored to have you with us, Frank, to give us some guidance.
Thanks, Steve. Great to be here.
You are welcome. Okay, so let's start off this way, Frank. Why don't you compare and contrast the challenges in dealing with kids, having to care for kids versus spouses or versus elders?
Yeah, and that's a great distinction to make. And really, the caregiving from an entrepreneurial standpoint, if you're trying to run a business and take care of elders versus, a spouse or kids is, there's some commonalities there, no question. But, and for an example, just the constant demand on one's self and one's time, and the challenge of taking care of yourself so that do have the stamina and ability and health to be able to take care of everybody around you. So you do have to take care of yourself first. But one of the stronger connection is, when you look at trying to be a caregiver for a child that needs extra care, and from running a business standpoint, that continues to be a drain on your ability to be effective in every area. But one of the interesting things about caregiving for children is that they don't tend to have the I'm just going to glance at my notes once more because I wrote down quite a few things on this, and that is, they don't have the mental emotional capacity, communication capacity to really voice the challenges that children themselves are going through, just from the maturity level and the communication ability. And so from a parenting standpoint, you're likely to see a lot of emotional outbursts as the child goes through different frustrations. And so how does that really affect the caregiving person in that situation? And in a lot of cases, has that same draining effect as it does to be caregiving for anybody in any situation. But having to be able to decipher what those frustrations and emotional outbursts really mean is a different level of challenge for a parent. And so, as a result of that, a lot of times the parents become a bit of a punching bag. And so, no fault of the child, but it's just the reality that they're not equipped to be able to handle, any sort of challenges that are thrown at them, as opposed to somebody that's more mature.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, children that aren't special needs or handicapped in any way, it's hard enough to communicate with them, and they have a hard enough time communicating their needs. On top of this, if they have special needs, then it's even harder for them. And as you're describing, if the parent is facing the unique challenges posed by being self-employed and building a business, then both parties are feeling extra pressure and extra stress. That sounds like almost a no-win situation. So what have been the secrets to success among the clients and people that you know who have managed to make this work? How are they doing it?
Well, it's the similarity is there with the other two versions of, the spousal situation and the parental situation, and that is to reach out to your existing family, your existing uh, surrounding people that you can rely on, and it's really, really strong to have a family meeting, and to with that family meeting really connect everybody and keep them in the loop in terms of what challenges you face, what challenges the child faces, and what the goal is to try to be able to manage that, and to elicit that help from your family and friends to be able to step up and do what they can, maybe not directly for the child, excuse me, but definitely as a supportive role for you, the caregiver, and the entrepreneur.
Well, so what does that look like? Are we talking about bringing the spouse and the three other kids into the living room, maybe the brother-in-law, and saying, "What? I need you guys to be around the house more and take care. I need you guys to run errands." What kinds of delegating takes place?
Well, it's a great question, and to take it back a little bit, probably the best starting point is to recognize that on any level, clear, transparent communication as to what people are going through as the caregiving and entrepreneur situation, and to express that to the people around you. I think I've said this to you before, but I've been married 35 years. I still can't read my wife's mind. And so the people that are around us, we have to be able to communicate to them to let them know what help that you do need. And so and then to have that conversation with the people that you bring into that meeting, and have them be well aligned with the things that they are willing and strong to be able to contribute. When you try to put somebody in a position that to help you out that is not a good fit for them or for you, then it's only going to make the matter worse. But you'll find that generally speaking, people say, well, I can do this. Would this be a help? Would that be a help? And to kind of get that dialogue going. And it's a work in progress, because also depending on the age of the child, really determines a lot of the different types of care that you have to go through. And so for one example, for the younger children that have disabilities, physical disabilities for sure, there's a lot of visits to the doctor, to the medical community. And so, how can the people in your circle help support that? Potentially not taking the child to the healthcare meetings, but definitely, how can they help around in the business or in the house with potentially there's other children and that need to be taken care of, babysat, just have some guardianship associated with that, just as examples.
In those situations, is it common to find that the other healthy siblings resent having to kind of rise to the occasion, in the sense that, like, oh, well, Timmy's getting all the attention now. Now I got to do extra stuff for him. I would guess that could occur. Have you found that?
It can happen for sure, and every individual is very different. And you and I could have the exact same upbringing, the exact same parents, and I could come out with my own sort of issues, and you could come out with no issues whatsoever. And so each individual's personality has a part to play in that process. But that said, the constant transparent communication with your children and the other children that aren't in that situation, then they're more sort of connected to the reality, and also to make sure that there's a balance, that you're taking as much care and attention to those other children as well, so that they don't feel left out.
Yeah, I could see that's where uncles and aunts and brothers-in-law could jump in and, I'll
Exactly.
take him to the ball game type, or I'll watch the little league game type of stuff.
The children are amazing, though. So, for an example, there's one client that I have that has a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old, and the 1-year-old has a multitude of physical challenges, and the 4-year-old has decided to really take care of her, and so really step up and really involve himself in. And he's the protector, and it's really interesting at 4 how that can come into play. But that's one situation. But it's just interesting. Children are very resilient and very open-minded. The older we get, the less open-minded we are. So it's a great opportunity to involve the children into the care of the child that needs help.
I would say that in a lot of families, kids will step up like that. They rise to the occasion, which must be very heartwarming.
Yes, definitely.
Are there professionals, social workers or therapists or other fields who specialize in helping families of entrepreneurs confront these issues when there's a special needs kid and one or both of the parents are self-employed like this?
Not specifically that I'm aware of for entrepreneurs themselves. Generally speaking, for any parent that's in this situation, sure. To meet with your local services, to be aware of what eligible sort of programs are available, and it changes from location to location. But could be state, could be local. And then also from that point of view as well, to sort of do your own planning and reach out to your own trusted advisors. So some of the things that come to mind would be a trust, for an example. I'm sure you come across it quite often where people don't even have a will, forget about have guardianship for their children. And so definitely when you have at any situation, you should have those things taken care of. But definitely when there's a special needs situation, to have a trust in place and to have guardianship and the words to make it legal so that the state doesn't become the ones that are in charge of what happens to the child if something happens to the parents.
So you're talking about special needs estate planning. You're talking about um, selecting custodians. You're talking about having a trust to be able to provide funds to take care of the child because um, the thinking is that a special needs child, in many cases, will not become financially self-supportive.
Exactly.
So as long as the parents are alive, they're taking care of the kids. But when the parents pass on, the child's not going to be able to pay his bills. So there needs to be assets in the trust that would then become available to the custodian to take care of the kid. Okay.
And that's actually one of the top concerns, generally speaking, that will the child ever be able to be self-sufficient? And in some cases the answer is yes, but in some cases it's no. And so in either case, especially as they're growing up, to make sure that there's something in place to take care of that, financially speaking, and also not just that there's money there, but also that the words are there to protect them.
When you say words, you mean, elaborate a little bit, what words?
So the guardianship, to have it set out that there's a custodians that are if something happened to the parents, that they'd automatically move in and be taken care of from somebody that the parent decides, rather than the state.
Right. That could be nasty if the government has to get involved and choose custodians. Right. And you bring up what I think is, to me, probably the hardest issue to deal with regarding kids as opposed to parents and even spouses. It's a long-term proposition. When you have an elder that's ailing and you're giving care, as much care as you give, you understand there's light at the end of the tunnel. this is a shorter term proposition. It could be a number of years, but there's an end in sight. With your spouse, depending on your age, it's a longer period. With a kid, you're in for the longest haul here. That's got to be daunting to people.
Yeah, and it's so daunting that, as you're aware, there's, a high divorce rate for any situation, but the situation about the divorce rate is quite high for parents that are trying to take care of children that have special needs. And so on top of that, if you're trying to run a business, and you're divorced, or you're going to go through a divorce, or there's a divorce pending, and then to financially take care of yourself as well as your family, as well as the special needs child, there's a lot of different plates spinning there. So you need to really spend time with your trusted advisors and really think that through.
For sure. I'm not here to judge anybody about getting divorced. You do what you got to do, but that's got to be a last resort. That's going to wreck the team. That's going to make it that much harder if the parents aren't living together and the communication isn't good and they're always haggling over this or that. These are all obstacles to building the team and rallying around Timmy type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Not to mention the extra cost, the financial burden it'll place on the business. And yet you're saying that there's a high percentage of divorce among people in this situation.
Definitely. And so, from the positive side, when you do own a company of your own, and being into that entrepreneurial situation, you do have a huge opportunity ahead of you, because you're not stuck at a particular pay rate based on a lot of employment situations. And so to really reach out and get the help to make sure that you can grow your business to the point that it can provide what your family needs is a really good piece of advice. And then also, in addition to that, what we talked about near the first of this chat was about taking care of yourself physically. So, when you have balance, I'm not a relationship coach, but when you have balance, the chances of the divorce starts to go down substantially, because you're fulfilled yourself and you're not, burning the candle at both ends.
When you're saying balance, you mean a balanced lifestyle? Okay. So one of the keys to avoiding divorce is having a balanced lifestyle, whether you're an entrepreneur or not.
No question.
That's very interesting. Okay. Well, we've covered a lot of bases here, Frank. What else do we need to know in terms of tips and guidelines and keys to success to making the situation work?
Well, one thing that we didn't really talk about is from the child's point of view, that when you go to school, in the early grades, and also even in the later grades, but definitely in the early grades, school is a challenging spot, and there can be a lot of bullying. There can be a lot of if you don't fit in, there's a lot of pressure there on the child. And so to be aware of that, and the school system itself can be very draining on a special needs situation, and draining on the parents. There'd be lots of meetings with different school people, teachers, principals, guidance counselors. It goes on and on. And so just to be aware that as well is another drain on the energy and the anxiety that it drives. And so almost all kids just want to fit in. And so when you have a visible disability, it's hard to do that. And so to be just aware of that, and to also embrace the opportunity for the children that are close to your child as friends, and to involve yourself in the community in a positive way to help pave the way for that school experience to be smoother.
And that also, okay, along with that, would be making a wise choice in the selection of schools.
No question.
I imagine certain school environments would be more conducive to creating that kind of fellowship than other ones. So there's an extra level of concern about that when your kid has special needs.
Exactly, exactly. And something that sort of connects all three areas, if it's caregiving for children, spouse, or your elders, when things are heightened in terms of anxiety, in terms of pressure and stress around the caregiving and around the incidents that happen, many caregivers just hope that, if they can get through a whole day without incident, that's an amazing day. And so to keep that in mind, that, carrying that amount of stress around in any of those situations it's just so important to take care of yourself.
Yes, every team and that every family in that position needs a health and wellness guru on premises or in the vicinity to give them daily guidance. I think, and to tell you the truth, even families without special needs, even families that aren't entrepreneurs, need a health and wellness guru on premises. Well, Frank, once again, you've shined a light on a very important topic, especially for a business owner audience. I want to thank you so much for sharing your wisdom. And I think we're better off after having talked with you in this series of chats. And I very much look forward to the next one.
It's been my pleasure. I appreciate it, Steve.
You're welcome.
Thanks.